Week 15's here. We're looking at the waiver wire. We got some running backs. The wide receivers look the same like every week. Bunch of up and down guys. Honestly, it's not super juicy this week. But we got one injury that's impacting us. And it's serious to the point where it's impacting teams. And it's very ambiguous because we do not know if it's going to affect us greatly. If Isaac Guerendo is going to be out. Or if he's going to be in. But that's causing us to look at Patrick Taylor. The top searched player on Sleeper right now. Well over 1 million searches. Everybody's wondering what to do with Patrick Taylor. That lets me know, hey, there's questions here. We need to deep dive him. We got to look at the advanced analytics. We got to look at the metrics, the situation, and do our best guess on what to do with Patrick Taylor. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives all day long. We're looking at the trending players down the list. We're doing deep dives on them. We're looking at those guys who are jumping the depth chart. Those guys are falling down the depth chart. Those guys coming back from injury. Everything else, they're getting a deep dive. On top of that, we're using these videos to help you set your lineups with the must-start videos. Click that button. Stop missing out. But we're starting off looking at Isaac Guerendo here, and he might be out. He might be in. It's rather ambiguous, but they're just playing it up right now. They did it with Christian McCaffrey, really, before he was out for most of the season. We did not know, and everybody drafted him in the first round. So, really, we do not trust the 49ers right now. Isaac has a chance to play this week. He does have a foot sprain, but he's pretty convinced that he's ready to play this week. He's ready to play. I do not know what to say about that. However, if I have Isaac Guerendo, kind of want the insurance policy. If I have room for another running back, I kind of want to see what happens. I want that stash. I do not want Isaac Guerendo out sometime, even though I don't think he is. But we thought that with Christian McCaffrey, and then Patrick Taylor's outside under our nose right now, getting all the work. So when I look at this, it's very suspect. And on top of that, he feels like it was just a precautionary measure that he was out. Feels like he's good to go. He's very, very confident. Makes you feel good, but you also don't trust the situation. If you want to read into his confidence, go ahead. If you want to look at that and go the opposite way, go ahead, because I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. If I pretended I know, that'd be the worst answer of all time. Patrick Taylor, though, last week, 7 carries, 25 yards, and a touchdown and a target against the Chicago Bears in Week 14. We got a little bit of work. We got a little bit of opportunity. We scored a touchdown. That's great. That's good to see. He hasn't done anything on his career. We have an RB2 game back in 2021. Obviously, we're not a top-tier prospect. Obviously, we've had a roller coaster ride here. But this is a running back you do not fully trust. But it doesn't matter if you're getting the touches, because enough volume will allow you to volume into fantasy production in a lot of weeks. Not always. If you're the worst running back in the league, you may not always hit with that volume. But that volume will allow you, by default, get you some good weeks in fantasy. You're looking at Patrick Taylor here. 4.57, 40-yard dash. Not a speed gremlin. Not an athletic merchant on the field. We got some size to him. Played in Memphis. We got a fair bit of Memphis running backs in the league between him, Gainwell, Antonio Gibson and company. Comp to Bryce Brown. Very explosive running back prospect back in the day. Patrick Taylor doesn't have a ton of upside. Not a generational talent. Not one of those backup running backs where we're just drooling over, hoping they somehow get a starting role, at least for one game. Not that type of running back, but a guy that can grind it between the tackles, be reliable for his team, and really might be able to volume into fantasy production. And when we look at last week, Isaac Guerendo got the work. 15 rushing attempts, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Would have had more if it wasn't for the foot sprain. Deebo Samuel got 5 carries. So the thing to think about here, what if we just get more work to Deebo? What if we do that? What if that's part of our game plan if Guerendo's out? Give Deebo a little bit more work, maybe some more short passes, use that as an extended run. Maybe get him some more carries instead of 5, but what about 8? Patrick Taylor's grinding it out. Maybe he gets 10 to 12 carries. What if it's like that? Are you going to trust it? You got to cross the goal line. You got to break loose. The volume could be here because it is the Niners. That's something to pay attention to. But honestly, there's reason why he could backfire on you. I'm not saying not to get him or to get him. I'm trying to cover all the angles here. There's reason why he could backfire on you. And you're looking at this team here in the receiving standpoint. They're not using these running backs. Not too much. But you have a fair bit of good wide receivers on this team. You got Debo. You got Jennings. Pearsall's getting some work, but his snap share is decreasing. You got Kittle. So why use these running backs when you're not Christian McCaffrey out there and funnel them to targets? Looking at that in the backfield, he's not going to get a lot of volume in the passing game. That's just not going to happen unless the game script breaks that way. But you look at the schedule here. It's kind of nicey. You got the Cardinals in the back end. You got the Dolphins there, allowing well over 20 points per game to running backs. Rams, the Lions. However, that's in the championship game. And if Guerendo's backing housing on any given run, they just got to give him a crease, and he's good as gone. That's still a gamble play. But still, you got 3 matchups here. You got the Rams and Dolphins. Both those defenses are allowing more than 23.4 PPR fantasy points per game to running back. So whoever's starting is going to get a good look. And these Rams are allowing something to running backs every single week. A little something. Like if you consider under 10 fantasy points a face plant, they're not allowing running backs to face plant against them. They're allowing them to do something. They bend. They don't break often, though. That's the one thing. I would not expect Patrick Taylor to get you 20. I would not expect that. I would expect around the 10 spot. Probably around the 10 spot with him. Maybe 12, 13-ish. I expect around the 10 spot. Maybe 9, 8 if this game gets dicey. But I would expect somewhere around the 10 spot with him. That's what I would expect when you're looking at this. You're looking at Patrick Taylor. You're looking at everything in line. Maybe they change the usage of the wide receivers. Maybe we throw it a little bit more. Maybe we slow down the pace a little bit. But the Rams are allowing fantasy points to running backs. Saquon Barkley went off, so it's really skewing the numbers for the last 3 weeks. Last 5 weeks, though, we're about league average. We're a little bit worse than league average by 13.3%. On the season, we're almost dead nuts to league average. And we're bending every week to running backs. We're just not breaking too often. We only broke twice this year. Saquon for sure. DeAndre Swift in week 4. Outside of that, James Conner almost broke them. If you're saying 20 plus fantasy points is the threshold for that. Jordan Mason scored 10.8 PPR fantasy points. I could see Patrick Taylor voluming into 10 PPR fantasy points on average if we simulate this game 100 times. I could definitely see that. If we score the touchdown or not, that's what's really going to matter here. But I can definitely see him rushing for like 40, 55 yards, something around that area, 60, 65, catching 2, 3 passes, 30 yards, 25 yards, something like that, getting you around that 10-point swing, and then you're really betting on the touchdown. And maybe you get 2, maybe it's one of those games, but it's going to be game script dependent. That being said, the odds of him face planting if Guerendo's out isn't too bad. But the thing is, you got to look at him and look at Guerendo. Because really think about this. If Guerendo's good to play, then honestly, Patrick Taylor's a wasted pickup. Because we know Guerendo's going to get the work. It ain't going to be nothing. However, maybe it doesn't matter. And you got to make this defensive move anyways. Maybe you already did it. And it doesn't matter. Because you cannot allow that guy in your league going into the playoffs to even feel good going into his matchup. And you just got to do it. And that will cause that gamer to make another play. Maybe that play is even less optimal. Maybe that happens. Maybe they pick up even less optimal play because there's even less on your waiver wire. Maybe that's the option for you. But there's a chance you don't need him. There's a chance that you don't need him at all because of Guerendo. And you got to be fearful of that. You got to be knowledgeable of that. However, if you need touches, any way, shape, or form, and maybe you luck out and Patrick Taylor is the guy this week going up against the Rams. You got those touches, and odds are good that he gets you a 10 spot. And that 10 spot might hold the line for you while your studs score and go off and allows you to win your matchup. Maybe that's what happens for you. Maybe that's what you're getting out of Patrick Taylor. Maybe he holds the line good enough for you. But everything's on Isaac Guerendo. He's got tons of upside when he's on the field. It's hard not to give him the rock because he can house it on any given play. Patrick Taylor's a guy that can be dependable between the tackles for an NFL team. but not super explosive for fantasy. We got to cross the goal line, and Isaac Guerendo has to be out. But if Isaac Guerendo is playing, he might get enough work to do a little something, but the odds are severely against that. This is a gamble pickup, but if I got room on the roster, you may have to just do it anyways and just pray for the best. Let me know what you're doing in the comment section below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Well, thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.